Animal Crossers, and welcome back to Lumi Island. In today's episode, we're diving into a build that you voted for in my community tab. Thank you so much for weighing in. It was a very close call between a celestial campsite and a butterfly sanctuary build, but ultimately the sanctuary won, and honestly, I can't even be mad about it because I think this is going to be so fun to create. Don't worry though, if you were rooting for the celestial campsite, that is coming up in episode 4, so stay tuned. Now, before we get started, if you missed episode 2, I highly recommend checking it out. I put together 5 smaller builds to completely decorate my island's plaza, and I'm still obsessed with how it turned out. So how did I come up with the idea of building a butterfly sanctuary on my island? Well, it all started when I saw Blather's tent during one of the first days on the island. It immediately sparked an idea in my head, like how cool would it be if I used the tent as part of some sort of research center? Since Lumi Island is meadowcore, it just felt natural to make it butterfly or flower themed. So that's when the concept of a butterfly sanctuary popped into my brain. From there, I knew I wanted to include research-related items and plenty of butterfly models, just the typical items that you would see in an Animal Crossing museum build. But I wasn't exactly sure what a butterfly sanctuary actually needed, so I did decide to do some research before getting started. I looked up butterfly sanctuaries on Pinterest to gather inspiration and get a feel for what real sanctuaries look like. The photos were so pretty, lush environments filled with flowers, shrubs, butterflies, and these greenhouse style structures. That's when it hit me that most butterfly sanctuaries are not fully outdoors, like they're enclosed spaces designed to carefully protect and nurture butterflies. And that's kind of where I hit my first creative roadblock, like how was I gonna recreate that vibe in Animal Crossing? I decided to just start with the basics, so I asked Google what makes a butterfly sanctuary functional. Luckily, I easily found 4 key components of a butterfly sanctuary. Number 1 is nectar plants to provide food for the butterflies. Number 2 are host plants for egg laying and caterpillar feeding. Number 3, water sources for drinking. And lastly, number 4, shelter to protect butterflies from predators and weather. The nectar and host plants would be super easy to replicate with flowers, shrubs, and just like flower themed items already in the game. And I could easily create a water source by terraforming a small pond somewhere in the sanctuary. The most challenging part was gonna be creating a covered shelter for the butterflies. While Blather's tent could technically count, I wanted to display the butterflies outdoors. To make the sanctuary feel complete, I also planned to include a care center and a research station. Once I had all of the basic details figured out, I visited some treasure islands to gather all the materials I would need, and now everything is ready to bring this butterfly sanctuary to life. We're going to be using Blather's tent as the main feature of this build. Since you can't move the tent once it's placed without upgrading it to a museum, we'll have to build the sanctuary right where I originally placed the tent, which is right here in this back right corner of my island. Honestly, it's perfect because this spot gives us the chance to let the build kind of spill over onto the nearby beach, which I think is gonna look so cool. If we check out the map, you can see where the tent is located, but before we can get started, there's a lot of prep work we have to do. This area is currently dominated by a large cliff, so I need to clear it out entirely. I started by clearing out the cliffs since I wanted this area to feel flat and meadowy. I removed all of the weeds, all of the flowers, and the trees, and then I got rid of the small pond up on the 3rd level cliff, and once all of that was cleared, I began the process of destroying the 3rd level first. After leveling the top cliff, I was left with a massive 2nd level cliff. I cut through a part of it to mark the final shape and the size of the area I needed to clear, and here's a look at the map now. It was such a huge cliff. Realistically, I I probably could have stopped halfway and then like still had room for the sanctuary, but I was already in construction mode. I figured I'll suffer more now and save myself the trouble later, so I committed to clearing just the entire thing. This process took forever, but it was so worth it. Once the cliffs were completely gone, I was left with a wide, flat, empty area, and running around the cleared space was so satisfying. Wait, who's here? Oh, it's today's sponsor, HelloFresh. If you're anything like me, life gets busy and sometimes dinner feels like just another task on your to-do list. That's where HelloFresh comes in to save the day. With HelloFresh, you can get a box packed with fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and easy to follow recipes delivered right to your door. It saves me trips to the grocery store, cuts down on food waste, and helps me make amazing meals without all the hassle. With over 50 dinner options each week, there's truly something for everyone. Whether you're into calorie smart recipes, protein smart meals, or just looking for something quick and easy, HelloFresh has you covered. And here's the best part, they're giving all subscribers free breakfast for life. Click the link in my description or use my code to get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. That's one breakfast item per box while your subscription is active if you're in the US. If you're outside the US, the local discount will apply. HelloFresh makes mealtime simple, delicious, and something you'll actually look forward to. Thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. Since I learned that nectar plants are essential for a butterfly sanctuary, I knew that I had to include some of the plumeria bushes. They're just so cute, and when the flowers bloom, they look exactly like something butterflies would love to eat. I decided to create a little feeding area for the butterflies right next to Blather's tent. I started by mapping out where I wanted my 8 plumeria shrubs to go. Leaving a space in between each, I created 3 neat rows. I wanted to frame the area, so I did place some wooden partition items directly behind the bushes and the tent. I even tried adding partitions to the left side to enclose the space a little bit more, but since the partitions would not line up properly, I just decided to give up on that dream. Next, I placed a variety of flowers around the area and of course, placed some butterfly models to really bring it to life. I also thought it would be adorable to add a cosmos shower here. It doubles as a cute decorative piece and a functional way to water all of the plants. And to tie it all together, I used a custom wooden plank design in front of the shower. I love this design code and I wasn't sure where I was going to use it on my island, so I'm really happy that I found the perfect spot for it. To make this space feel more cohesive with the rest of my island, I incorporated some of the brick path that I've been using in my other builds. I made a long rectangular path running in front of the feeding area, extending past Blather's tent and leading down to the beach. I placed a garden wagon and a watering hose to make it feel like an active, cared for space. And since I imagine people doing butterfly research here, I added a stool with an open book on top. The book even has butterfly illustrations and text, which is just so perfect. I also included a jar of glowing moss, which I feel like gives off butterfly food vibes. As a final touch, I placed a pair of headphones as if someone left them there while working. I added a moss ball and a butterfly also onto the wooden planks in front of the cosmos shower. Directly across the brick path from the feeding area, I wanted to create a care center for injured butterflies at the sanctuary. Since this space was going to be more structured, I started by laying down a foundation of brick to define the area. To enclose the left side, I used some plant partitions, and for the bottom part, I fenced it off with some rope partitions. I like how the ropes allow you to see into the care center while still providing a little bit of separation. Inside the care center, I used 2 of these study carrels. I think that's how you say it. I don't really know what these are. But I used them to create like these private stalls for injured butterflies. These felt perfect to keep the butterflies safe and contained while they're receiving care. To make the stalls feel functional, I placed 2 butterfly models inside as our patients. Then I added some crates to make a makeshift table, and I placed a camera on top, like pointed at the butterflies. To me, it made sense, like maybe they're documenting the butterflies for research or rehabilitation progress. I added a chair for the care center Center employees to sit while working, and to the side I placed a ranch kitchen to serve as a wash station. On the countertop I added a scrapbook that looks like some kind of medical record book, and then on the floor next to the chair I placed a toolbox which matched the vibe perfectly. I added a piano bench in front of the chair with another butterfly book on top as if it's being referenced for like care instructions. And for additional framing, I did use this ranch low board, and I placed a few smaller decorative items on top that felt fitting for the space. With the care center mostly complete, the last thing it needed was a sign to make it clear what this area is for. I did not want visitors wandering by confused about what was happening to all the butterflies in here. Since I couldn't find a design code online that I liked, I decided to make my own. I just created a simple green plus sign design, and then I customized a poster stand item with the design. And then I added the sign to the care center and finished off the build with a stack of books nearby. And then the care center was ready to help all of our butterfly friends in need. In the last episode, I asked you all to vote on Lumi's flag design. The options were A, B, and C, and after tallying up the votes, the winner is option B. I went ahead and updated the island flag to the official winner, and I have to say it looks so cute flying over Lumi Island. Thank you so much for voting and helping me choose the perfect flag for our island. I love it so much. For the next part of the sanctuary, I started by working on a walkway to connect the areas and make the whole space just feel more full. I added some trees, shrubs, flowers, and of course some more butterfly models to really bring the space together. I also laid down a wooden plank path through the flowers leading to the different areas of the sanctuary. I decided to create a small pond to serve as a water source for the butterflies. I grabbed my waterscaping tool and carved out a pretty simple small pond. I left a piece of land in the middle with a butterfly model for extra detail. Then I noticed that my island already had a small natural pond right next to this one that I just built. I don't know how I didn't notice this before, but when I saw how the two ponds looked with the narrow walkway between them, I knew that this was the perfect opportunity to do something bigger. Instead of just having a single pond, I got to work carving out two more small ponds, so now there are 4 ponds all side by side. Now this area was really starting to look like a butterfly marsh. I filled in the spaces between the ponds with butterfly models, flowers, and a few wheat fields. Honestly, the wheat fields are definitely what made this feel like a marsh. They give the space a natural overgrown feel, and I just love how it turned out. This area feels like a real habitat for the butterflies, which is exactly what the sanctuary needed. Plus, the ponds provide plenty of water for the butterflies, one of the 4 key components we needed for a proper butterfly sanctuary. The marsh also checks off another one of the 4 key components, which is the host plants for butterflies and caterpillars. So now all we needed to have a real butterfly sanctuary was some covered shelter. On the smaller beach right next to Blather's tent, I wanted to create a cozy little workstation for butterfly research. I started by placing some tall vertical board fencing to serve as both a backdrop and a barrier from the beach behind the build. To set the scene, I added a shelf of glowing moss jars. These jars really tie into the idea of butterfly food, or I don't know, maybe they're housing cocoons that are waiting to hatch. Of course, no research station is complete without a desk, so I did include one here. To make the area feel more structured, I added a wooden partition for extra separation, placed a plant for a touch of greenery, and included a sink that matched perfectly with the rest of the furniture. For a chair, I used the Turkey Day chair to keep things cohesive with the care center that we built earlier. I thought it would create a nice cozy atmosphere to add some candles on top of a log stool. And then I placed a stack of magazines to really lean into the research vibes. The sandy floor felt a bit plain, so I did add a green leaf pile right in the middle of everything to give it more texture and interest. At first I was gonna stop there, but honestly I love clutter in Animal Crossing, so I decided to add a few more details, a box of office supplies, and a Nordic low table to display a butterfly model and a tulip. As a final touch, I added this rug custom design. It kind of looks like a little welcome mat or something cheerful to greet everyone who's coming into the research station. I really wish Blathers would come out of the tent and wander around the research station. He would definitely make it feel more complete and ready for some serious butterfly study sessions. Now, don't think I forgot about the final component of our butterfly sanctuary, a shelter to protect the butterflies. This was such an important part of the sanctuary, and I really wanted to create a greenhouse for it. Greenhouses came up a lot in my research, and they seemed like the perfect way to provide a covered space for the butterflies. I decided the peninsula nearby would be the perfect spot for our butterfly greenhouse. I started by laying down some pathways. I used a cobblestone looking path and a green grass path to create a nice base for the area. Then I started working on the greenhouse structure itself. Using storefronts and the greenhouse shelf item, I experimented with different layouts to create something that resembled a greenhouse. I'll be honest, it was not working at first. I got a little frustrated, so I stepped away and decided to place a gazebo nearby instead. This gazebo ended up looking so good here, and it flowed beautifully with the rest of the sanctuary. I even added a winding wooden plank path that connected the gazebo to the research station, which turned out so nice. After that little break, I went back to the greenhouse and tried again. Finally, I landed on a design that I loved: 2 storefronts in the front, 1 centered in the back, and the greenhouse shelf right in the middle of the front. It felt like the perfect layout and gave me the greenhouse aesthetic that I was going for. To finish up the peninsula, I did fill the empty spaces with flowers, shrubs, and of course, butterfly models. And as always, I had to include another green leaf pile to make it extra green. The greenhouse section came out so cute, and honestly, it feels like the perfect final touch for our butterfly sanctuary. Now it's time for the final walkthrough of Lumi's butterfly sanctuary. If we walk in from this side, we're greeted immediately with the butterfly feeding area. You can see that the plumeria shrubs did bloom and the flowers are perfect for our nectar plants. Directly across the path is the butterfly care center, where we have 2 patients getting some care right now. I'm really happy with how the care center turned out. I think it looks so nice. If you walk over here, you can see this nice little walkway we made that leads over to the research station of the build. If we head down this way, we can go through the gazebo and see the greenhouse on the peninsula, and of course down south is the butterfly marsh area, which I just think looks so cute. It's way bigger than I anticipated, but I think this build turned out great altogether. As always, thank you so much to our channel members. Your support helps out my channel so much, and I'm so thankful that you're here. If you would like to become a member to get cute emotes and badges, click the join button below to check it out. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode of Lumi Island. I'll see you all next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!